Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. This week on Fixing South Sudan, the National Communication Authority weighs in on the recent telecom industry's call rates increment, a move that has triggered a widespread public outcry. But what is behind the decision to adjust the tariffs? Is it a good idea for fixing South Sudan? And what is the National Communication Authority as the regulator doing to connect neglected areas of South Sudan, as well as boost the network quality nationwide? Joining us for the show is Honorable Lado Kenyi, the Director General of the National Communication Authority. It's our pleasure to welcome him to this program for the first time. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Madingo.
So, National Communication Authority, some people know about it, maybe others don't. What can you say about your body?
Yes, the National Communication Authority is the regulator of the ICT sector and postal services in the country. The ICT, that includes the telecommunication, the internet service providers, and other things like the TVs, for example, the computers that are imported to the country, these are all called ICT sector. So it is the National Communication Authority which regulates it. It issues the licenses. It issues the type approval of the equipment that comes into the country. It sets the standards for those equipment. And also it's responsible for the frequencies that are being used either in the radios or in the TVs or generally in the communications, including the aeronautic ones for the planes to communicate within our airspace. All those, and even the numbers that are being used, for example, these numbers of the Zane or whatever, these are all allocated and regulated by the National Communication Authority. The National Communication Authority was established with the National Communication Act 2012. So it was in 2012, September, that the National Communication Act was passed by the Parliament. So it's an act that includes many things. It gives the powers to the National Communication Authority to regulate this industry in the country.
When you talk about regulation, what does it mean?
Regulation, that means, for example, issuance of the license, allocations of the frequency, and management of the spectrum resources that are in the country, management of the numbering resources that are available, ensuring the security of the country through interference. For example, if you have the border areas between South Sudan and Uganda, for example, there are interference, whether with the radios or with the communication services themselves. So their interference, then their coordination that we always do with our counterparts there. These things are all what are regulated by the National Communication Authority. You have an institution, and what kind of institution is it? Is it fully set up? Is it in transition? It is in establishment phase. We started, the Communication Act was passed in 2012, as I told you. But the National Communication Authority itself started working in 2015. First, I was appointed in the 1st of July 2012 by a presidential decree, and that's according to the Act. And then the board of directors was appointed in May 2015. After the appointment of the board of directors, then we start the establishment of the National Communication Authority. At the moment, we have really set up most of the functional organs of the Communication Authority, like the Technical Services Department, where they are the frequency management team. We have also trained them. We send them for training in Rwanda. We send them for training in the US. And then also we have established the network management department. We have got engineers who are working there. We have got the licensing department where we license the frequency. We license the operators, for example. We license the internet service providers. Also, we issue import permits for ICT equipment that are coming into the country. We register the VSATs that are used, for example, all over the country. We are registering them. And we have got also equipment that monitors these signals, for example. What we don't have at the moment is that we are lacking some of the regulatory tools like traffic control system, where we could be able to control the traffic that is coming into the country, going out in the country, within the country, how much these companies are generating from revenues, what is the quality of the service that they are providing. We could be able to measure those things, but we don't have those tools. Although we have planned, we put it in our budget of 2016-17. The Ministry of Finance couldn't avail us the funds. We also put it in the budget at 2017-18. We were allocated funds, but the Ministry of Finance didn't give us the funds up to now. We also put it in the current budget, 2018-2019, and we are just waiting for the Ministry of Finance to give us those funds so that we can be able to acquire those tools.
Do you have the expertise that can effectively run your institution, or is that also lacking?
No, at the moment I have got really the engineers that I have got, the technical staff that I have got, they are up to the task. Yeah? They are able to run the institution. What they lack is the equipment, the tools that for them to efficiently work efficiently and efficiently monitor the sector. But the quality of the staff are up to date. We have got our engineers, they are all South Sudanese, and we are also capacity building them. So there's no doubt about it. The only thing that now is that we are unable to complete the establishment. For example, in the legal affairs department, we lack still recruitment of his staff. We put it in the budget, but the Ministry of Finance refused to allow us to do the recruitment because they didn't increase our salary budget and wages. We also lack the consumer care department. This is what we also put in our plan. We actually wanted to recruit about 80 staff in the last budget, this budget of 2018-2019, but we were not allowed by the Ministry of Finance, although the Ministry of Labor actually did include it in our payroll.
On the legal framework, do you have all the laws that you need? You talked about the 2012 Act, or do you need more?
No, the Act is almost like comprehensive. It may need some review, but within the Act we have, through benchmarking with our colleague in the region like Kenya, Communication Authority with Kenya, and then the UCC in Uganda, the Uganda Communication Commission. We benchmark with them. We were able to draft actually about 10 regulations from our Communication Act. And those regulations have been signed, actually reviewed by the Minister of Justice, and they are signed into law. And those are some of the achievements that we have done actually since our establishment. So we've got 10 regulations, and we have made it even very tough. For example, the frequency regulation. So if you misuse the frequency, we will punish, we'll give penalties. These penalties range up to $1 million US it could even be a 2 years imprisonment.
Let's talk about the outcry about the recent decision to increase the tariffs, the coal rates, as you will, and people don't know whether it emanates from the National Communication Authority or from the operators themselves. They have been complaining that the rates have been hiked, and what is behind the decision?
Yes, this is actually a good question. Let me tell you the following. Since the establishment of the National Communication Authority, we in 2015 reviewed the tariffs. According to the Act, tariffs are supposed to be set according to the actual cost of the service. We commissioned a market analysis study from a firm called Deloitte in Kenya, and they did the market analysis here. And what we found out was that the operators, immediately before the establishment of the National Communication Authority, they were charging 6 cents for local calls. When we are within one net, it's called on net. When you are calling Zen to Zen, for example, you were paying 6 cents. That was before 2015. And if you are calling Zen to MTN, which is called off net, you are paying 9 cents. We benchmark with the region. We reduce those tariffs to 4.5 cents US cent for on net minute, and then 5.5 for off net per minute. But those are what I'm talking about. Those are the maximum caps that they cannot charge you more than that. But actually, what they are charging, because of the competition, they charge less than that, you see. So those, when the pound was devaluated, our problems start there. Actually, we did reduce the calls, the rate, the tariffs, we reduced it from, as I told you, 6 and 9 to 4.5 cents to 5.5 cents. When the pound was devaluated, then those cents has to be multiplied by the value of the SSPs, because all the equipment that are being bought, all the services that are being done, or maintenance and repair of the network, it all depends on dollars. So to buy those dollars, you have to go to the market to buy it. So that's why then we adjusted that one to 18. It was 18.5 when it was adjusted first. Then when the pound was further deteriorating, we adjusted in October 2016 to 70 pounds to $1. So it's that 70 that they multiply with the 5.5 cent and 5.5 cent and give them the rate that they charge, the maximum cap, you see.
Okay, let's do it pace by pace. So after the devaluation of the currency, you made the initial adjustment. Why?
Yeah, because simply, as I told you, when they wanted to buy equipment, they want to buy new equipment, or they wanted to update the software.
Operators.
Yeah, the operators. They have to buy $1. And the dollar, they buy it in the black market. They don't buy it in the central bank or in the commercial banks. It's not available to them. We tried that if they give them the rate that is available in the central bank or in the commercial bank, so that they get the dollars from there. But the central bank could not guarantee that amount of money. But mind you, the 70 cents even, when we gave it to them, the dollar was 111 in the parallel market. A dollar is 111 pounds to $1 in the parallel market. But we gave them the rate for the exchange was $70. And with that one, they were able to live with it. They were able to maintain their network and then update their softwares.
They felt that they could not be viable if the rates are not adjusted.
Of course, that is what brought now this bad quality of the network. Since that adjustment in October 2016, there was no review done again. We did review, but it was not allowed the adjustment to be effective. The board of directors, that's the function actually of the board of directors, is to review tariffs every year. But because of this fluctuation of the SSP, dynamic is very, very fluid indeed. Then that's why the operators always request for review After 6 months, the request for review. And it has been reviewed several times. From 70, it was supposed to have gone to 91. And it was supposed to have gone to 111. It was supposed to have gone to 125. It was supposed to have gone to 139. All those ones, the board of directors was seeking for blessing also from the political supervision of the sector. But then that one was not allowed. That is why now this big jump, and the jump actually is not very big. It is 4 pounds and 15.
We will come to it. Let's take a break from here.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor. Welcome back to Fixing South Sudan, your ideas for building the new nation. I am Adingor, and with us in the show is Honorable Dr. Lado Kenyi, the Director General of the National Communication Authority. We come back for the final round. Talking about these issues is really about the operators' viability and also consumers' protection. There is a debate. Why are we paying more when the network is poor? And before the break, you talk about the poor network being motivated by the fact that the operators were not making enough profits. Which is which?
Yes, it's not that they are making profit. It is that they are not generating enough revenue to inject back into the network. You see, our operators, and completely the cost of operation in South Sudan is very high. According to the market analysis research we did, it was about 67% of the revenues that they get is the one they inject back to maintain and repair the networks. In the other countries, like in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, it is only 22% of the revenues that they collect is the one which is used to maintain the network. So we don't talk really with a lot of profit there. There's a little bit of profit margin. But since the exchange rate was 70, and you know the dollar has got up to 270, even it went up to 300 per dollar. During this time, they were unable to generate enough funds so that they can buy equipment, they can maintain the softwares, and this is the one which led into some of the networks sites going off. Also, the security situation in the country has led to that. It led to vandalism of some of the sites, and to repair those sites, to bring them back, you need dollars for that. And there are main companies, there are groups, you know. If you have to go, even if they are not groups, you have to go to a bank, you have to go with a business case that the bank can be able to give you money. So if you go that I'm selling my services at 70 SSPs to the dollar, and the bank know that the SSP is 270 in the market, definitely they will not give you the money that you need to inject into the network.
Let's dwell a bit about the tariffs increment, and you are doing it in phases.
Yeah. And
can you break it down for us for the first phase, the second phase, and the third phase, and what is supposed to happen?
Yeah. Actually, the increase is the following. We adjusted the tariffs from 70 SSPs to a dollar to 170 SSPs to a dollar. And you know now in the market, the dollar is not 170, it's 270. So, but the operators, they can work with this 170, and then they will be able to maintain their network.
What does it mean in terms of a consumer calling? Because
Yeah,
they
the
may
consumer
not understand
calling,
it per dollar.
Yes. The thing is that now the maximum on-net calls, the maximum tariff is £3.15 per minute.
Within the network.
Within the network.
And across the network.
Across the network is 3.85. But now what we are going to do is that there is £4.50 who are going to come to be added to it. So that 4.5 will go added to it. Maximum, it will come in July. So we allowed them to put only 60% of this 4.5, which is £1.80 will be added. Already it's been added to the 3.15.
It's going to increase gradually.
Yeah, it's going to increase gradually. But also this gradual increase is conditioned on raising or improving the quality of the network. So if they don't improve the quality of the network until May, we will not allow them to put the next 30%.
Now people are asking,
yeah,
why are we paying more when we are not getting value for our money?
Yeah, but that is the catch-22 thing. You have to pay more so that they use the money to inject into the network. But right now, after this interview, I'm going to a meeting. After that meeting, we are going to go with MTN to see their new sites, their new equipment that they've already installed. They are migrating from the 14th, which is from tomorrow. We will see improvement in MTN network that will culminate up to the mid of April. Then it will migrate totally from the present equipment to new total equipment. They have invested almost $35 million to improve their network.
If we look at the paces for which this decision was supposed to be rolled out, it was supposed to be 30, 30, 40. But they started with 40.
Yes, with the 40, because really the gap was...
And the question for you is, as the regulatory authority, are you sleeping on the job?
No, we are not sleeping on the job.
Are they compromising you?
No, they are not compromising.
Why is consumer protection not number one?
It's their number one. The consumer protection is number one. Otherwise, do you know how much they wanted this thing to be done? The exchange rate. They wanted to go to an exchange rate that is parallel in the commercial bank, which is 212 or 220 USD per dollar. But we refused and we brought it to 170. That is protecting our consumers.
You know, since the departure of VivaCell, the network has totally been down.
Yeah.
And of course, VivaCell was so dominant that many areas of South Sudan were reached through VivaCell. Yeah. And in the absence, it's the complete blackout in certain areas. So you have given them what they want. And when are we going to see the improvement of the network and the activation of the sites? How many sites countrywide?
Yeah, most of the sites, I cannot tell you exactly what is the site, but the sites range, the sites that has gone off, really, there are very many. Most of these companies used to have like 300, 400 sites in over the whole country. But due to the war, due to the vandalism that happened, and accessing those sites to maintain them, some of them just need fuel to be taken there, and then they will come off.
You will supervise them in the process.
Of course.
You will make sure that South Sudan is connected.
We have what is called harmonization of license agreement with these companies.
Now that's another thing.
Yeah.
Let's put it in perspective. So they had the licenses. They acquired the licenses in Sudan.
Yeah.
And then as a compromise, you are harmonizing the licenses. You are giving them more years.
No.
Under the old contract.
No. What happened is that we allow the period of their license from Sudan to go to the end. And then after that, then they will get our licenses. That we renew their licenses.
You could not renegotiate the licenses.
We cannot, no, you cannot renegotiate the license. Those licenses was not issued by us.
What we did is that South Sudan, a different country, you could not renegotiate.
No, either, you know, because what we did was that we have to have communications network in the country, okay? So if we don't negotiate, if we don't give concessions, we will have no communications because we don't have a national communication. So all those communication network are foreign. So we have to come into compromise with them. And one of the compromises is that we allow them to operate the rest of the period that they were given their license in Khartoum. And it was right because we were part of Khartoum. Those fees which were paid in Khartoum, the South Sudan might have benefited one way or another.
And so we are talking about 7 years for MTN and 11 years for
Zain, exactly.
Yeah. Now, what happens in areas that were previously connected by VivaCell and cannot be reached by MTN and Zain? And you are talking about improving the network.
Yeah, in the harmonization agreement, actually part of it is for them to reactivate the sites that went off, and then they have to inject money to establishing new sites. And as I told you, they have brought plans for that. And MTN actually has already brought equipment worth 8 million. There's equipment remaining of about 20 million on the already has been ordered. They are coming. Zain has done the same also. So they are working on reactivating those sites and then making new sites. Like in Juba now,
you haven't answered my question.
Yeah.
In the area where VivaCell is dominant, what's going to happen? Is it going to remain a blackout?
No, instead, VivaCell was dominant, but VivaCell network was the least network in coverage in the whole of South Sudan. It was in certain areas. So the areas VivaCell was there, MTN was there, or Zain was there. The networks the bigger networks are MTN and Zain actually, not VivaCell. VivaCell was concentrated more in Equatoria. The whole of Greater Equatoria was mostly VivaCell. And then you'll find Zain there, you'll find MTN there. So there is no problem of those areas not being covered. They are being covered.
But will you compel them to share sites instead of a monopoly in some areas?
We have issued a directive on that. And that is one of the regulations that we've got, sharing of infrastructure. We have already issued a circular to all the MNOs, the mobile network operators, and then also to the ISPs, that they have to share sites, but according to their commercial agreements that they reach. And if they don't reach commercial agreement, then we will intervene. And because we know how much this one's supposed to pay and how much the other one's supposed to pay.
What is the brightest spot for the consumers who are saying, why are we paying? What would you tell them to quell them down?
Yes, the consumers is that, you know, the communication sector is the well-regulated sector in the country now. What can you do with a £5?
What is in it for them? Why should they tolerate this when the network is poor? And in fact, this network has disconnected communities.
No, it's really just exaggerated. The network is there. You can still make a call. The drops of the calls are a little bit higher than what we have specified.
Is it going to improve?
It's going to improve. I tell you.
In how long?
Within this month. From tomorrow onwards, you'll see improvement up to the middle of April. Then the network will really be highly improved, but within Juba.
In this program, we talk of fixing South Sudan. Are you fixing South Sudan?
Yes, I'm fixing South Sudan because if you see, the communication network is the well-regulated sector in the country. Now, with £1, you can communicate, but you cannot buy anything with £1 in the market. Even with £10, you can communicate for 3-4 minutes. You cannot buy a bottle of water for £10 in the market. So this is the well-regulated sector in the country.
I want to end on this note. Yeah. The National Communication Authority in other countries is the main generator of revenue. Yeah. And in the era of the National Revenue Authority, which has recently been established, are you going to be remitting a lot of money to the National Revenue Authority?
Yes, the National Communication Authority already is remitting revenues to the Revenue Authority accounts in the banks. The biggest chunk of the money actually comes from the excess duties, which are called the sales tax. And this is where a lot of money is coming. So if we improve the network, we increase the number of the subscribers, then this big amount of money that is paid monthly to the Revenue Authority will increase definitely. And at the moment it's 13%, but it's been raised to 18%. And that is one of the things also that we have to caution ourselves as leaders of these countries. We are trying to protect the consumers. So if we are protecting the consumers, we cannot raise the taxes. For this communication, for example, for us to bring the level of the network up, and then also to encourage people to call, we are supposed to be decreasing taxes because we can compensate it by increasing the number. So I'm really asking the parliament, instead of increasing the sales tax from 13 to 18, they should reduce it to 10 so that the number of people who are calling will increase, and then that will offset the sales tax that they needed.
For you to increase the non-oil revenue generation, what do you think the National Revenue Authority should do or should put in place to close some loopholes in order to maximize on the collections?
They have to help the National Communication Authority get an access or acquire the revenue assurance tools. If we get the revenue assurance tools, there will be no leaks. We will know how much money each operator is making per minute or per second even.
What makes you believe that you are fixing South Sudan as a person and as National Communication Authority?
Yeah, because of what I'm doing in the National Communication Authority, making all those regulations, planning for the future. I'm fixing South Sudan.
What legacy would you like to leave behind in this institution?
I would like to leave a National Communication Authority which is functional, efficient, and transparent, with really highly capable and professional staff.
Thank you for coming on Fixing South Sudan.
Thank you.
Have you fixed South Sudan?
Yes.
Or has South Sudan fixed you?
I have fixed South Sudan.
Thank you very much.